short video about the Wild Horse Adapters Cummins ZF5 adapter plate. I'll be using this plate to put a ZF5 transmission from a 460 powered truck into my 1986 Ford F-250 bullnose, which has a Cummins 6BT in it. The truck originally had a C6 and a gear bender in it, but the C6s did not handle the torque of the Cummins very well. I have the truck turned up a little bit, which probably didn't help. I'm going to talk about the quality of the plate. I'm also going to give you some information on the hardware that you'll need, the hardware that it comes with, plus a different way to do the pilot bearing that might make it a little easier or more serviceable for you.
All right, this is the Wild Horse Manufacturing ZF5 to Cummins adapter plate. It's made of steel. It appears to be plasma cut. I'm assuming somebody probably made this on a CNC table and then they have a jig or whatnot, or maybe even a mill to make sure that the dowels are in the correct place. I've only heard good things about these adapter plates. Nobody said that they're horrible, at least that I've heard of. Hi, Chico. Hi, everybody. This is Chico. Chico wanted to interrupt the video. He's not this affectionate unless he knows you're doing something. They make a few different versions of this. There's one for the diesel pattern also. I would believe that all the instructions and installation would be almost identical, since the diesel pattern Ford is very similar to the 460 pattern. So this comes with hardware, pilot bearing, and I think that's about it. The hardware for the starter is already on here. I did change out this cap screw. This is for the very bottom bolt of the 6.0 Power Stroke starter. I think you can use a 6.4 starter also. Anyways, I did not want a cap screw because I don't carry Allens with me. And I might have to change this with something as horrible as a crescent wrench if I'm on the side of the road, because that's all I have. So I put a regular headed metric bolt in here. I will give you the size of that in the description below. I changed the hardware out to grade 8. No particular reason you actually need to do that. Grade 5 is perfectly fine for an aluminum bell housing. The aluminum's going to fail long before those grade 5 bolts do. They give you instructions with this pilot bearing to bore the center out right here for this to fit. I decided to do it a little bit different. Well, actually, my machinist friend suggested we do it different, and he's a smart guy. So we made this little adapter. So this will go in there, and then this bearing with the same ID and a different smaller OD will go in that way. And I talked to Cody about this, and he said that they had tried this, but people had issues with it. And the issues are probably more to do with the installation than the actual part. So the way this is set up is you take and you put this in the freezer, this bearing, make it as cold as possible, and then you take this sleeve and you put this out in the sun, or maybe warm it up with a propane torch. You could stick it in the oven on a low setting, even a little convection oven. I wouldn't put it in the microwave. Not going to work out for you since this is metal. So warm this up, make this cold, put a little bit of Loctite, thread Loctite on there, and then this will almost drop in there. And then just make sure that it is centered, close to it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This isn't rocket science. It doesn't do much except hold the input shaft to the transmission. So once that is together and Loctited, take both these pieces, put them back in the freezer, and let them get cold again. Put the flywheel out in the sun. This works here because I'm in Arizona, it's pretty warm here. But if that doesn't work, you could use a propane torch. If you're really careful, you could use an acetylene torch. I would be really careful though that you don't warp the flywheel or get this way too hot. It doesn't need to be red hot. If you have a temp gun, 250 degrees max. That's all you need. You just need to expand just a little bit so this will slide in there. Your machinist, or if you are a machinist, you can make the interference fit correct to just drop in there. You don't want to put this in when they're all the same temperature, because there's a good chance that when you're trying to force this in with either a press or a hammer or however you're doing it, you're going to damage this bearing or you're going to deform the OD. And then down the road, it may cause issues with this staying in place. It might not even be centered in there. I personally wouldn't do it that way. This flywheel is a 13-inch Dodge Cummins flywheel. It bolts right up to the Cummins. I did have to order some ARP bolts through allensfasteners.com for here, because I originally had a flex plate on my engine because my truck had an automatic in it. The flywheel bolts are a little bit longer than the flex plate bolts. On the clutch side, I ordered a Valeo, I believe it's a Valeo, I'll list the part number, 13-inch clutch for, I believe, a 94 to 97 Ford 7.3 Power Stroke. This has the same pattern on the outside diameter to bolt up to here. As far as bolts, you will need to get 8 bolts for the clutch to the flywheel. Those are not included with this, and they're also not included with the clutch or the flywheel. I used some grade 8 bolts I had laying around. These are 1 inch long or 1 1/4 inches. Size are these 5/16 grade 8 with a 12-point head. The head size doesn't matter really. There is plenty of room on this clutch to use a normal bolt. I just happen to have these laying around from some beadlock wheels. So they worked. I don't have to go to the bolt store. I like that. So threads right in there. These will get thread locker on them too. As a matter of fact, almost, I'm gonna say every single bolt on this is going to get a medium strength thread locker. Or maybe a high temp thread locker. I'd like to be able to get the bolts out, so not red Loctite. Probably a blue, or I think green is high temp. But the reasoning for that, Cummins have a lot of vibration. They shake a little bit. And I know the 6.0 and the 6.4 Ford starters are known for coming loose on stock trucks. So I want all of this stuff to stay in there so I don't have an issue down the road, you know, because it's probably going to be when I'm 200, 500,000 miles from home and the transmission tries to fall out and damages things in the process. You definitely don't want that. I sourced this clutch off of eBay, and it came with the following parts. These 2 bearings I'm not going to use. This bearing I'm not going to use. I will use the throwout. And I'm going to make a video on putting a clutch pedal into a OBS Ford, you know, 80 through 97. There's actually 3 different clutch pedal assemblies and a lot of differences in parts, so that might help you a bit. That will be for another day though.